Alright, so we'll be doing the safety manual training today. We'll be looking at safety manual as well as the safety risk management and overall safety system that we have at Gold Cross Ambulance. The purpose is to outline the expectations of safety as well as the core components of Gold Cross safety management systems. This safety manual applies to all Gold Cross Ambulance personnel. Full safety manual found on the employee website underneath the operations tab. Please review that. It's a pretty comprehensive document. You all received it during orientation process, but it's good for you to review again to make sure you're up to date on all the safety standards that we have at Gold Cross. We do have a specific policy related to driver eligibility, and that's policy number 511. It outlines the requirements for you to be a qualified driver at Gold Cross Ambulance. You must be at least age 19, be within the acceptable driving record score, which is the green and the yellow in that picture there. Major violations are defined as excessive speeding, DUI, failure to report a crash, careless or reckless driving, false accident reports, vehicle homicide, manslaughter, driving with a suspended or revoked license, attempt to elude any police officer, any suspension or revocation in the last 3 years, and then the minor violations are speeding tickets, traffic tickets, things like that. Driver and crew responsibilities. So as a driver and as a crew member, you have certain responsibilities you need to continue to maintain while you're operating a Gold Cross vehicle. Basically, obeying all traffic laws, being reasonable, using reasonable practice to avoid abuse, theft, neglect, or disrespect of the equipment. Utilization of seatbelts. You want to obviously use seatbelts and shoulder harnesses in the passenger compartment, but as well as in the crew compartment in the back while you're with the patient. We want you to be using seatbelts as much as possible. Obviously, there's going to be situations where your patient care is going to dictate you being unbelted, but please stay as belted as much as possible in the back of the patient. Attention to and practice of safe driving techniques, adherence to existing safety requirements. All of you have taken an EVOC course now, and please make sure that you're following those guidelines and the things that you learn in that course while maneuvering and utilizing an ambulance. Obviously, we restrict the use of vehicles by authorized drivers only, so that includes our first responders, law enforcement, and fire department, public safety partners. No lay people should be driving any of our ambulances. Please report any moving violations within 7 working days. Accurate, comprehensive, timely reporting of all vehicle thefts and or accidents involved in authorized driver to management. And as a secondary crew member, as the passenger, the co-pilot, if you will, your job is really navigation and making sure that your partner is driving safely and responsibly, clearing intersections, keeping an eye out for things. In the event that the driver and crew member can no longer safely complete these responsibilities, a timeout should be initiated. We'll go into the work rest hours and timeout policy as we get into this training a little bit further. Cellular use and cell phone use is obviously prohibited in ambulances while in motion. If you guys are absolutely in need of using a cell phone, tablet, or computer as the driver, you need to pull over, utilize a cell phone, and then you can continue to drive. But we really do not want you using any personal or Gold Cross cell phones while being the driver of the ambulance. There is, obviously the exception to the rule, which is if you're engaged on an urgent call and the patient requires full attention from the attendants in the back, and you need to make an urgent phone call to the hospital to do a patient care report, you are able to do that as a driver, but only in acute circumstances where the attendant in the back is unable to make a phone call due to patient care. 1040 responses. Obviously, as an employee or as an organization, we have 2 different response modes. One is the 1040. This category response are interfacility and routine transfers. AADAM, B-Boy responses are also 1040 non-emergency. So those are going to be your 2 non-emergency transfers. Obviously, you're going to drive just like you would in your personal vehicle, observe all traffic regulations, no advancing through red lights, no excessive speed, things like that. And then we have the 1033 responses. These are your emergency responses, C, Charlie, D, David, and E, Edward calls. Making sure that you're driving with due regard, no more than 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, using that left lane. Make sure you're clearing the intersection, coming to a complete stop at red lights and stop signs before proceeding through the intersection with caution. And then making sure that in a school zone you're shutting down those lights and sirens or encountering a school bus that is stopped. please shut down lights and sirens and wait for them to wave you through, or put away their stop sign and red flashers. Poor weather conditions. Please increase your following distance an additional 4-second interval during inclement weather. During an immediate heavy rainstorms, reduce speed well. If you feel like you can no longer navigate to a call or is unsafe to navigate to a call safely, please let dispatch know, and they'll downgrade you or determine whether or not they want you to continue to the call. During inclement weather, reduce overall speed to compensate for poor road conditions and reduce the visibility. Do not operate using cruise control, as hydroplaning can result in these poor weather conditions. Again, dispatch does use that weather and fatigue risk assessment tool for all long distances to make sure that we're trying to send you on the most safe transfers. You do have the authority to reach out to your supervisor if you feel you're going out on something that is unsafe, but we are using that weather and fatigue risk tool every single long distance transfer now. We do continue to utilize road safety. That road safety system is put in place to help with deterring excessive speed, G-forces, and braking in the ambulance. The data is collected in the road safety system, and then a grading summary report is sent out to employees on a quarterly basis. The minimum driver rating score of 5 is using that 1 through 10 measuring system. Excessive low force, high force, and overspeed counts will be monitored and reviewed. In the event of a vehicle accident, all road safety reports will be downloaded, printed, and submitted to the crash review board or the safety committee. Seatbelt usage will be monitored and reviewed by management in accordance with the seatbelt policy and state law. So we look at this obviously on a quarterly basis, but we also look at it monthly and weekly to make sure we're driving safely. Gold Cross Amos does deploy a safety committee. They meet on a bi-monthly basis to go over different safety aspects of the organization. The team consists of field staff, both paramedics and EMTs, dispatchers, senior leadership, quality assurance personnel, fleet maintenance, supplies, and facilities. The objectives of that safety committee is to investigate near misses, vehicle accidents, injury, and exposure events to determine if there are system or personal choices that are resulting in an incident, or collaborate with the QA and senior leadership to identify any global safety goals, provide periodic company-wide education and training based on safety concerns identified by the team, and evaluation of all policies and SOPs specifically related to safety. So they're going to be reviewing your suspected drug use policy number 702, your driver standard policy number 511, your safety policies, the safety manual they review on a yearly basis as well to make sure it's in line with what our standard practice is in the field. We do also have specific safety equipment that we want you to be utilizing during certain instances. We have helmets for extrication exercises, so anytime you have the risk of overhead barriers or overhead hazards that you're going to encounter on the job, make sure you're utilizing your helmets. And then anytime you're in a vehicle during extrication exercises because of patient care requirements, make sure you have that helmet on. High visibility vests, make sure when your feet are on the street, your vest is on the chest, and make sure you're utilizing that anytime you are standing or walking in a roadway to make yourself highly visible. Make sure you're aware of your surroundings and keeping your head on a swivel to make sure that there's no passing vehicles that are getting too close to you. Parking your ambulance in an appropriate position to kind of block the scene is also extremely important. And then we have your survival equipment that's was outlined in one of our previous trainings. The survival equipment's located in the ambulance, and it's there for your use in the event you're put into a survival situation. And then we have various tools to help, in the event you have a survival situation or you need to make repairs to your ambulance. Reporting, so general safety reporting. So it's extremely important that you guys are doing your daily vehicle inspections, doing your rig check, making sure that the vehicle is in good, safe working order. If it's not in good, safe working order, that's where you need to report that to your supervisor, get that vehicle down for maintenance so that it's in good, safe working condition for patient transports and daily use. Near miss reporting. So the near miss report is on the employee help desk. These are reviewed by the safety committee at each meeting. Any near miss to determine if there's something we can be doing as a system to try to make sure that there is not an injury as a result of a near miss. So the near miss is something that could have resulted in an injury, but but luckily it did not at that time. But if the system or equipment or whatever continues to be in that condition, that it could result in an injury. So those are located on your help desk. Please make sure you're going in and filling those out as you encounter a near miss. And then injury and exposure reporting. Any injury or exposure to bloodborne pathogens or cautious substances, make sure you're reporting that injury and exposure reporting. Even if you don't think it's going to result in medical care, please report that. It'll just go in there as a report only. So anything that any on-the-job injuries or exposures need to go into that injury and exposure reporting on the help desk. Again, we utilize that fatigue risk assessment tool, GoCross. We deploy that work rest hours policy. So that will outline your expectations of an employee to make sure that you are well rested for your shift. And then within that work rest hours policy is our timeout policy. And it states, if at any time an employee feels that he or she is unsafe to continue to work in a scheduled shift, the on-duty supervisor shall be notified and a timeout called. Timeout stops the clinical and transport activity of the unit or the shift. Employees in need of a timeout will be granted 1 hour of uninterrupted rest before resuming their shift. Employees must punch out during that period. If an employee gives any indication that they are unable to safely resume their duties after the 1 hour timeout period, they should remain punched out, notify the on-duty supervisor, and remove themselves from the work environment. When timeout is initiated by an employee, the on-duty supervisor will fill out a timeout report. This report will be submitted to the systems director as part of the supervisor's shift report. Every timeout occurrence will be reported to and reviewed by the safety, quality, and executive committees to determine contributing factors and appropriate of use. System adjustments and employee coaching will occur as a result of each occurrence as indicated. So really, we want you to use this if you need it, but we should be kind of weeding out the need for this with that fatigue risk and assessment tool. Again, if this system isn't code expedited, then timeout will be deferred until the code expedite is all clear. 911 system accommodates for the loss of a resource. So we have a 911 system that we need to manage, so the timeout policy will be factored in with the code expedite and the current status of our system as well. And that will be up to the supervisor's discretion. Again, please take some time and review that safety manual. That's located again on the employee website under the operations tab, safety manual. It's a very comprehensive document. Please review that, and if you have any questions, forward them to the safety committee, myself, or your supervisor. Thanks.